realization and enjoyment of the rights of rural women and girls with disabilities, and why data collection matters in improving their plight. My organization, Rehabilitation International, attaches great importance to the issue of inclusion in the particular context of rural women and girls with disabilities, as we believe that this group of persons with disabilities are the most marginalized among persons with disabilities and will be most likely to be left behind in the work to realize the Sustainable Development Goals if deliberate effort is not taken to ensure their inclusion and participation. Rehabilitation International has had many engagements in this regard over the years and has been instrumental in the establishment of the first global network of women with disabilities at our 21st World Congress held in Quebec, Canada in 2008. We've gone a long way since then. Today, RI has a sitting woman president with a disability from a developing country, which is from China, and a Secretary General, also a woman with a disability from the Philippines. Aside from being women with disabilities, the common thing we share is the fact that we are grassroots disabled women who face multiple challenges and discrimination because of our gender and our disability and our poverty, and had to work twice as hard to get to where we are today through rehabilitation. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities requires states parties to take all appropriate measures for the full development, advancement, and empowerment of women with disabilities to guarantee the exercise and enjoyment of their rights and fundamental freedoms. The Disability Convention cites the importance of respect for gender equality, calls for legislations and policies that address discrimination against women and girls on account not just of their gender, but because of their disability. The CRPD further prescribes that women with disabilities have the equal right to participate and exercise their economic, social, and cultural rights, which is mandatory and an immediate obligation of states that should not be subjected to progressive realization. However, the obstacles the participation of women with disabilities in all spheres of public and private life remain great, especially among rural women and girls with disabilities who are marginalized because they are not able to land jobs or compete with others in the open labor market for lack of education and training, or worse, for having no access to rehabilitation and assistive devices, which are important prerequisites to living independent lives. Why rehabilitation and disability matter? At this juncture, I wish to share with you some practical lessons I learned from my lived experience of disability and how rehabilitation has served as a vehicle to get me where I wanted to be. It is not always easy to be speaking of one's personal experience. However, in this case, I realized that one of the tasks that I would have to do this afternoon is to convince you that it is worthwhile to invest for the rehabilitation of persons with disabilities, particularly women and girls, and that rehabilitation is definitely the strategy to achieve that goal. I was initiated into rehabilitation in the mid-1990s. Don't ask for my age. A time when involving persons with disabilities in the program was not an easily accepted proposition. At the time, persons with disabilities were largely seen as recipients and users of services and seldom involved as part of the management team or as providers of rehabilitation services. Having been born and raised in a country where accessing services was almost wishful thinking at the time, one, because of the fact that I lived in a rural village in the northernmost part of the Philippines,